Brendan Mulvaney is the director of the China Aerospace Studies Institute for the U.S. Air Force. He's also a retired foreign affairs officer for China with the U.S. Marine Corps. Brendan, welcome to our program. Is China, in fact, sending a message with these massive drills or review, if you will, considering they're taking part in the South China Sea, which has been a flashpoint, really, for Asia? And what is that message, if they're sending a message?
Well, I think they're sending several messages. One is to his own domestic populace. Two is to the regional powers in Southeast Asia, who are also claimants in the South China Sea, and then to the broader world in general. So these messages definitely overlap, but it's a show that China is in the rejuvenation stage, that they're nearing Xi Jinping's goals that he has clearly laid out, as mentioned in the broadcast. 2035 is kind of the goal that he has set to have a military on par with the other leading nations of the world. And so this is a clear demonstration that he is progressing toward that way, and that the PLA itself is making milestones to meet that goal.
What do you make of the timing? This is a time of threats, time of tariffs, times of escalating trade nations between China and the United States.
So I'm always a little leery to jump in on the timing question, because most of these drills, much like the United States drills or drills anywhere around the world, are planned months and perhaps even years in advance. So sometimes it's just coincident that there may be heightened tensions and somebody thinks, oh, well, they're doing the drills because of that. Usually these things have taken place and have been planned for many months in advance, so there's no real way to time that. That being said, the South China Sea continues to be an interesting area of heightened tensions.
To say the least.
To say the least. The Travel Act with Taiwan has obviously added a new influence in the bilateral relationship, and this is something that will be taken into account. So certainly it is an interesting time. I don't know that I would make a one-to-one correlation, but I think it's just another clear demonstration that China has some interest, that it is willing to exercise, at least on the diplomatic front, the military diplomatic front, some pressure and some power.
Xi has called for further modernization of the Chinese army, turning into a world-class force. How far has the Navy come in the past decade or so, and what is it going to take to make the Navy a world-class force, as President Xi Jinping has said?
Two excellent questions. And so, again, we have to make sure that we keep everything is in mind in relative terms. So they have come a long way. So the PLA over the last decade, 15 years, has made steady and rapid progress toward modernizing not just the Navy, but its Air Force, its command and control structure. It just is going through right now a huge reorganization of their command and control into theater commands, now looking outward as opposed to inward. So that has been a huge change. So relative to where China was, great strides, lots of movement. Relative to leading nations of the world, still has quite a ways to go. It has its first aircraft carrier, its first indigenously produced aircraft carrier is now undergoing sea trials, and so that's a major step. But we have to remember that many other countries around the world also have one or two aircraft carriers.
And go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your thought.
I was just going to say. So when by 2035, if they can produce a whole slew of aircraft carriers and all of the ships that go around it to truly make China's Navy a global competitor, then we'll have a different discussion at that point.
Clearly, huge strides,
yes.
Remarkable progress, but there are still some challenges. Brendan, can you talk about what some of those challenges are for the PLA or the Chinese Navy?
So the Chinese Navy has some brand new equipment, but they also have a lot of older equipment. Now they're trying to eventually phase those out. They have a great building program that's going on right now, but that's still going to take a lot of time to accomplish. You just don't come up with a brand new submarine, or in this case, an aircraft carrier, overnight. Another huge challenge that they have is they're making a modern fleet, but that requires high-tech and very capable enlisted people specifically, but also officers. So how China adapts that, how they get these highly qualified people to join the military and stay in the military, retention is going to be a huge issue going forward, because as China develops, in general, those people are going to see jobs on the outside that are probably going to pay them more than in the military. It's something that we face here in the United States and people around the world actually face for advanced militaries, because they need such highly qualified people that they're in demand elsewhere.
All right, we'll leave it there. Brendan Mulvaney, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.